over and talked to them. And it was cool that the day prior, underneath the bridges, the story that Evan told about Kent, we were able to use the stories that we heard, the life lessons that we heard, and pass it on to the kid. We got up from there. A few other people came with us, and there was a lady that called us over to her vehicle, and we were like expecting that she wanted a lunch, but she didn't want a lunch. She wanted to be prayed for. We prayed, and then we were going to give her lunch. She didn't want a lunch. All she wanted was prayer. Just thought that was really neat.
Anyone else want to share a story?
At the shelter, to kind of give you an idea of how that's set up, the sanctuary that you saw was where all of us slept, and then there was a floor for women and children, and then there was another floor for just strictly women without children. And I think one day I was going down to use the restroom or something, and this little girl stopped me and she said, "Are you coming back?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And then I said, "Oh, wait a minute, we are coming back." And she said, "Are you going to stay forever?" And I said, "No, we can't stay forever." And she said, "Well, if you need clothes, we have clothes right back there for you." So it is so true. These kids just wanted the love and wanted to be held and touched. And the baby that I was holding in that video, that particular night we had a movie night. And one of the moms stopped me. She said, "Can babies go too?" And I was like, "Well, sure, I'll take your baby." And she changed his diaper and put the passy in his mouth. And I took him up to watch a movie. And he just started rubbing his eyes, and I was able to rock him to sleep. It was the most beautiful thing ever.
Awesome.
Okay, this story is just for Joe, right there. Hear me? Yeah? Okay. So we were in the bluff one day.
You can keep going.
And we ran into a guy who he was on the street, and he did a rap for us, just a freestyle rap about Jesus. And was it before or after? It was before. He told us to say, "Blessed and highly favored." He asked us how we were, and we all said it. And he called me out. He pointed at me. He said, "You, you're going to play football."
It's on there. Yes.
See you tomorrow. Release for action training.
There you go. Sign up.
You're in.
It was just an amazing experience. The way he felt so strongly about it. Felt like it was a calling from God. He was pulling on his heart, and he just felt like he had to say that. Felt like I was going to play football.
Don't let him down. Anyone else? Actually, talk a little bit about some of the brokenness that you saw. Anybody want to share about just some of the things the hurts that you saw?
I'd like to share something that I thought was pretty amazing. The first day in the Bluff, which is the ghetto of Atlanta, we stopped at a food mart, and it was up from the yellow apartments, up a little ways from the yellow apartments that we went to the next day. It's used in the movie. But there were just people flooding toward us. I mean, we had so many people. I think we had like 40 volunteers with us that day, and it was just so awesome to see the people just hurting toward us. I mean, it blew my mind, that all these people were coming to get food. They were like, "Oh yeah, Seven Bridges is here, getting more people," and it was awesome to see the way that we had grown over the past few days. There were prayer circles everywhere, and the thing was, if you gave someone a lunch, you asked if you could pray with them. That's how it was. And even if they didn't want prayer, you still circled up with people and you prayed, just that God would have his hands on them. And it was really awesome for me anyway, because I like prayer hopping now. That's a thing. That's a thing. I'm very excited. Prayer hopping. But it was awesome to just feel the unity in the body of Christ. You know, you finished one prayer and you hopped to another. It didn't matter if they were in the middle. You just put your hands around everybody, you know, and you just connected with them and God. And the response from our brothers and sisters that are out on the street was just overwhelming. Just having them ask for prayer, having them, you know, just tell you that they're broken. You know, I prayed with prostitutes. I prayed with drug addicts. You know, and just the fact that they're very open, they're like, you know what, I'm struggling. You know, my family isn't talking to me. I need prayer. You know, I want to, you know, heal up those relationships. You want to talk about brokenness? Like, we stood on the corner of the largest heroin trade and usage spot in southeastern United States. We stood on that corner, and just to look around and see the brokenness and all the people that were around there, and to see just how they acted, you know, and to just take a step back and watch, you know, observe a little bit, see, you know, who they were, what their stories are, and it was amazing just to take some time to listen. For me, I lost my voice the day before we went on the trip. And I don't know if any of you guys know me very well, but I love to talk. I'm very social. So the fact that it was going to be a struggle for me was really hard. But God used that, and I listened. I had a conversation with Jay, which is our big bodyguard, one day after debrief, and we sat down for half an hour, 45 minutes, and he just vented to me about what was going on in his life, what he was struggling with, and just to listen to the passion that he has for the ministry and the passion that he has for us to make sure that we do go back to our communities and make a difference, you know, and apply what we learned. You know, like his heart just ached for us, not knowing whether or not, you know, we would continue to do work for the Lord, and it was awesome. I don't know, I love Jay. He's like, this ain't no game, man. This ain't no game. You gotta trust Jesus, you gotta love Jesus, you gotta pray for these people.
Actually, Jay was one of those guys that, you know, he was protecting us, but one of the things that, you know, even being in the worst neighborhood, I can honestly say, and I don't know how the rest of you guys felt, but I felt no fear. And I honestly believe because as we're there was such a respect for the ministry, but I also, more than that, I believe there's a hedge of protection around us through the Holy Spirit. And while we were at the church, which the church is actually 20 minutes outside of Atlanta, and they do that purposely because they want to get them out, you know, off the streets. But I asked him, I said, you know, I was going out, I was like, these doors locked? He's like, no, we never lock the door. They're there and they're ready for people to come off the streets at any time. But I always felt protected. It helped that he was like 6'4" and really big. And there was few. So, anybody else want to talk about brokenness and what you saw?
I came up to a woman, and one of the sad parts is when you run out of lunches and people still need lunch. A woman who was incredibly skinny came up to us, and we didn't have her lunch, but the main lady, Melissa, asked if I could pray for them, and she said a beautiful prayer for this lady, and at the end of it, the woman was just bawling. And I think that touched her more than anything, was the prayer that Melissa said for her. And, you know, that's the sad thing, is we made 430 lunches every morning for people, but there's a time in the day when you ran out, and you had to tell people no. And so I thought that was incredibly sad.
Yeah. Anyone else? One of the things that that was a big challenge, even as the last day, as we were there, the leaders were like, keep it going. Keep it going. You just keep doing ministry wherever you go. We're leaving Atlanta, but their challenge to us was just keep it going. And so I'm going to ask you guys to share a little bit how you intend to do that. We talked about that a little bit in and some of the things that you feel convicted about. Anyone want to share? Remember when we talked about this?
One of the guys that we came in contact with, we came close to his house. I think his name is Danny, and it kept going through my mind after this week. But he said the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few, and it really just stuck in my mind this whole week. And just seeing this group represent Parkview the way they did, and just hit me that basically, we kept saying after this that we are going to keep doing this, and that there aren't a lot of people that are willing to do that. There's not a lot of people that are willing to go out of their comfort zone and pray with people in need. And we talked a lot this week on stereotypes, and basically just seeing everyone as equal, and just whatever background they come from, that they still need the love of Jesus. And my intentions, I guess, for keeping this up is, I lead a small group of guys, and I intend on doing things with them, and maybe having something once a month in our group, or just applying what we do. And I know that Parkview, we talk about the in, the up, and the out, and the in and the up can be so easy, and because that's our comfort zone. That's doing things with ourselves and growing ourselves, and also praising God. But the out, that's where it gets tricky, and that's where I challenge us as a church too to really practice that, because the representation that this youth has just shown me this week is that it's possible. It's there's not just heroin addicts in Atlanta. Believe it or not, we live in a small town of Worcester. There is people in need. There is a lot that we can do as a church.
Anyone else want to share? I think that one of the things that Heath was talking about is people stepping out of their comfort zones. This team here, I know a lot of them are out of their comfort zone right now, just sitting up here. That was huge. But I saw them come out of their comfort zones. Jasmine, she prayed for 10 people and gave out 10 lunches, and I know that was huge for her. And Christine, when we got back last night, we said, does anybody want to close in prayer? And Christine led that out, and I know that that's really stepping out of her comfort zone. And my challenge to each one of us is, where are your comfort zones? Maybe pushing that just a little bit more. And that's one of the reasons I'm so proud of these guys, is because they led in such a way that they stepped out of their comfort zones and they did what we told them to do. I mean, we never had any problems. I mean, one morning I woke up, I'm like, these kids are already up. I'm trying to sleep. And, they were